My family watches a lot of cooking competition shows. Usually it's a timed event with some challenge to prepare and plate a dish that gets judged on taste and presentation. And I've noticed a number of times that losing dishes are critiqued because they were just simply under seasoned. And sometimes a contestant loses because they just simply didn't add enough salt to a dish. Salt is pretty potent in food, isn't it? I mean, just a pinch of salt can transform not only a bite of food, but an entire dish. And like you know when salt's missing. Like there are just foods that just taste off, taste wrong when there is no salt. There's this really familiar verse in Matthew chapter 5. It's a verse you may know well. Jesus uses salt as an analogy. Matthew chapter 5 verse 13, he says, "You are the salt of the earth." But if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. There are lots of ways in which this verse gets applied, but I think it's really important to see what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5 verse 13, this verse in the context of what comes before it, which are the Beatitudes. In Matthew 5 from verse 3 through verse 12, Jesus defines what a blessed life of a Jesus kingdom kind of person is like. Poor in spirit, mourn, meek, hunger and thirst for righteousness, merciful, pure in heart, peacemakers, persecuted for righteousness and insulted for Jesus. The Beatitudes are not imperatives or commands to live out, but rather this picture of what a life should look like of a person who has entered into the kingdom of God and surrendered their life to Jesus. And Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth." Salt is effective in seasoning, not because it does something, but simply by its presence. And so should be true of us. We are salt not because of what we say or what we do, but because of who we are. Jesus paints this picture of this blessed, complete life lived in Him, the Beatitudes, and then asserts immediately after that if we live like that, we will be salt. It seems to me that we are living in this increasingly divisive culture, especially here in the States, with tensions around politics and the pandemic and all sorts of cultural issues which seem more and more and more and more to be evoking religious positions in order to be proved right. And in the context of all of that, I've just been thinking a lot about my life and about the Beatitudes and about Jesus' comments about being salt. I've been thinking about whether the part of the world that I'm in is influenced, is seasoned by me simply being in it. Not by what I do or what I say or my arguments or my positions or my platforms, but simply by my presence. Am I flavoring my world by embodying this blessed life that Jesus defines in the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5? If you're a Christ follower, here's what I know. Jesus has sprinkled you somewhere. You may feel as if you're a lone grain of salt in your workplace or in your community or your school or maybe even your family. You may feel like Like you don't have the right words to say, the right things, or you don't have the right platforms to do all the right things to change your world. And honestly, that's okay. Because I hope that you're encouraged today by Matthew chapter 5, verse 13, that you are salt not because of your words or your positions or your arguments or your platforms, but simply because of who you are. If we live with poor spirits, not for self-promotion, mourning and brokenhearted for our world, meek, hungering and thirsting for righteousness, merciful towards others, with pure hearts as peacemakers, welcoming insults because of Jesus, if that's the life that we live when we are sprinkled and present in our difficult and divisive society, then we will, just by being present, we will undoubtedly point people to Jesus. Live this blessed life, and you will be salt to this world around us.